We have a Scorpio new moon ruled by Mars opposite Pluto coming into our sky. Holy man, it's going to be a big, intense, if not explosive energy. This moon is happening on November the 1st. It is happening at 9 degrees of Scorpio. It's also conjunct the asteroid Diana, the goddess of the thresholds. We're going to talk about this as a divine crossroad moon, that she is going to ask us to step straight, left, or right. There's something about a turning point, a divine crossroads at play for each of us individually from this new moon in Scorpio. It is life-changing because the ruler is opposite Pluto in the sign of Cancer. Pluto in the last bit of his final state direct in Capricorn, ending stories that we've been living with since 2008. So what makes it so special and so intense is indeed the condition of Mars, who rules the lunation. But we'll also notice that we have some other asteroids playing out, and I can't wait to talk about them. We have the asteroid house sitting on Chiron, the wounded house. We have indeed the asteroid Apophis, the world destroyer, in the mix as well. So we have some intensity. Mercury happens to be sitting with this moon in the sign of Scorpio at the time of the lunation, and he's sitting with Typhon. Yes, Typhon, Typhoon, the asteroid of storms and the sea god of storms and sea monsters. It doesn't mean we're going to have a sea monster appearing on the moon, but it means that things that feel like we're in sea monster territory, and also typhoon, storms are here. It is a stormy new moon. Pluto, Mars, opposition, brutality, brute force, explosive energy. And I'm not going to make this sound like a happy story. This is not that story. I can't change it. In your life, you're fine. You're not going to find yourself, in the middle, most of us, of some kind of like uprising, riot, mortal combat between fraternities, brothers. I forgot to mention the Sabian symbol of the moon. Okay, the Sabian symbol speaks to brotherhood. It's called Scorpio 10, rounded up by 1, a fellowship supper, keyword fraternity. Well, where we have brotherhoods or sisterhoods in arms or in cross purposes are places like, for instance, the United States election. And yes, November 1st is mere days away from the November 5th election. And we see the turbulence being seeded by the new moon. It is the seed that is planted before the actual election. And every new moon isn't just about what happens on the moon. It's what happens in the 2 weeks after the moon and what happens in the 6 months after the moon. And it heralds a turbulent election, a time of a critical crossroads in the United States of America, and perhaps in the world at large as well. I'm going to show you a picture of what the sky looks like in Washington, D.C. at the time of the moon, around 8:47 a.m. on November the 1st. And then I'm going to talk just briefly about how this may impact Joe Biden in particular, Vladimir Putin in particular. And then we're going to move away from the stories of the world and talk about your sign. Now, when you listen to your sign today, sun, moon, and rising, and by the way, they're pinned in the comments or the timestamps. And if you don't like world astrology, political, world event, climate astrology, that kind of thing, don't listen. You can jump ahead. But if you want to learn something, check it out. So listen for your sun sign. That's about your career and purpose, eternal nature. The ascendant is the character you play at the steering wheel of your life. The helmsman, the first house, and that ascendant rising sign is kind of the most delineatingly accurate. But I find most people find solar charts equally accurate, as if your sun is in the first house. And then your moon sign can be about your mind, body, or how you feel about your life, can be about home and home-based matters. Okay. By the way, welcome. If you're new, my name is Lori Lothian, and I'm using the Western Tropical Zodiac. This is not Vedic astrology, whole sign houses, fixed stars, and minor asteroids to help you time your best life. Yes, I hope for you, astrology can be a navigational tool so that you don't swim upstream. You go with the flow, so you don't go out without an umbrella when it's going to rain. Use it proactively if you can. This is general bell curve astrology, not your natal chart, but still some of it will apply. Now, also, I'm only sharing one thing I'm doing this month, and that is I am promoting the 2025 Time Your Best Life 2-hour videos for each sign. Those are for sale. They're never on YouTube. There's a PDF guidebook as well that I provide with this content. And you can buy your sign, sun, moon, or rising, or get the bundle. It's a better value. This pre-sale price ends on the 15th of November. The product is delivered to your inbox directly. It's not made yet. I'm still making all the videos on November the 17th. So you're buying it while I'm producing it. And it's my fundraiser so that I can create I can get help. I can get help. I need timestampers. I need people to do some research on my back end of my videos. So that I know what the hell I said myself. I need a new computer. I'm using a very old MacBook Air and I need to replace it. And every now and then I break a mic and I need a new microphone or a new ring light or something like that. So help my channel grow, but also please consider buying the offer that I have for you. It is a fundraiser and it is, you get something, I get something, we all win. All right, let's get going and talk about our sky. First of all, in the description link under the More button and pinned to the comments is everything you need to know about me and my channel. So you'll find that information there. I'm wearing a black leather jacket and as best I can, some black and white earrings to get down with the vibe of Scorpio. Scorpio is stealth, secrets, three-letter agencies. Yes, spies. It is forensic, investigative. It is deeply private energy. It is the feminine domain of Mars, the warrior. So we see stealth war when we see Scorpionic Martian things, not out there in a tank on a battlefield. We see like the kind of secret wars that go on in the world behind the scenes. The idea of when somebody is ASSINATION, edit, that kind of thing. That's a Mars Scorpionic narrative. That's not like go into the battlefield and fight directly. So these kinds of stealthy things are the nature of Mars and Scorpio, and that Mars is not in Scorpio. Mars is in the sign of Cancer. He's looking on in a trine to this moon in his home kingdom of Scorpio. Scorpio is where he has his dominion, but he's not in his best form in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is emotional. It's about mother. It's about protection. It's about family. And Mars is the guy that goes to battle. It is antithetical to being in the house of the mother moon energies. However, when he is here, he's extremely nationalistic or patriotic. He's a fierce protector of home and homeland and of family. Now, we all protect our home and family. That's a natural instinct to do that. We all want to make sure those that are close to us are safe. And that is a more noble aspect of Mars in the sign of Cancer, protector of home and family. Put him, however, in the emotional energy of water, and he may not be up to speed here as well. Yes, in stealthy Scorpio, which is water, his other domicile, he's a little bit better, but that's still waters run deep. I mean, the energy of the pond, on Golden Pond is more Cancerian. Cancer has crab claws and they can hurt, and he can be very defensive and reactive emotionally, and he can cause harm. He's a little bit off kilter in the sign of the lunation lord herself, the moon. I want to show you the sky, and I want to talk just a bit about what it might mean. That you're going to see what I'm going to show you, that Apophis, the asteroid Kassandra, the asteroid House, and the asteroid Diana are involved in the sky. These minor asteroids are the devil is in the details. And let's get that pulled up for you today. Here is the new moon in Scorpio around 8:46 a.m. in Washington, Ecuador. Washington, D.C. Let me see why we have Washington, Ecuador. You cannot make this stuff up. District of Columbia. Let's make that correct. Calculate. That's better. So we're now in Washington, D.C., and we'll see that we have Mars at 29 degrees of the sign. Mars at 29 degrees of the sign of Cancer. He is the owner or the domain lord of what's happening in his house, which is Diana, who's almost at 7 degrees, is conjunct the 9-degree sun and moon. Now, obviously, guys, just let me say, and he's witnessing it, he's watching it in what we call a trine, which is flowing energy. I just remember that if you have any positions in your sky between I will go 6 degrees to 12 degrees of Scorpio, your sun, your moon, or your rising. Similarly, 6 to 9, 12 degrees of the other signs angular to this. These are the fixed signs, which is Leo or Taurus or Aquarius. Placements in these positions of 6 to 9 degrees are getting highly activated by this. So your sun, your moon, and your rising, 6 to 9 degrees of Scorpio, Leo, Taurus, or Aquarius are very, very much being impacted by a a crossroads energy in our sky. Why I say crossroads is Diana. I did some research on Diana. She's a goddess of the hunt and the goddess of the wilderness, and she's a Roman goddess. And the version of Diana that is the Greek goddess is Artemis. Now, we all recognize her as a hunting dog, a bow and arrow, sometimes an owl on her shoulder. These are archetypes of her dominion, but she's also got other meanings. One of them was divine crossroads of like Hecate, the triple thresholds goddess. Like when you hit a Y in the road, you've been walking one way and you have this to left or right. You can go either way, but behind you is the road you came from. So there's 3 ways that you can go: back where you came from, to the left or the right. Hecate is a part of her mythology as Diana. She's considered to be connected to the goddess of the moon, and that is Luna or Selene. So she is the goddess of Luna or Selene, which is making sense because she's a protector. Diana, she's a virgin. She's a protector of women in childbirth. And of course, the moon is connected to menses and menstrual cycles, and also lunations around pregnancy. How many? 6 to 9 lunations and you have a baby, and a baby's viable. So there's something about her archetypal lunar energy that I can't ignore. She's on a new moon, and she is also known as Diana Lucifera, and Lucifera means light bringer. So she has another myth to do with the one who brings the light. And of course, the moon brings the light by which we hunt at night. You can't hunt under a dark moon. So the huntress is here. She represents the feminine, independent hunter, right? The one who goes out and hunts. She's also strongly connected to, as I said, women in childbirth. She's also really connected to bringing the light of the moon to the world, and also to the thing that you want to do, which is you want to definitely look at, she brings light. She's a light bringer on a moon that's dark. So I think that having Diana Lucifera, the moon goddess of the moon, sitting on a dark moon is auspicious in a way, right? She wants to bring light to what is already dark, and she'll do it however she needs to do it. That's my take on it. And just to say a little bit more about her, from handy old wherever I go, there I am. Oh, sorry about that. The annotation just moved around. But the triple goddess Diana, okay, is also called Diana Triformis, like trivia or 3, Triformis. And she's connected to herself, Diana, also to Selene and Luna, and to Hecate, the goddess of the underworld. So she has another world, underworld archetype. And when we have a new moon, we are basically in an underworld archetype already. I mean, what is underneath the surface is what is in the darkness. So we see that as well, that we get this energy of her talking to us in the sky about the dark moon. So that's the underworld version. A full moon would be more of a bright light. Let's get rid of my bad writing here. I just tried to annotate and I made a bunch of notes that I don't want. Okay, now, what about the other stories in the sky? Well, one thing I'd say is that Mars opposite Pluto, you must pay attention. You must not ignore this. It is like at your peril. Brute force. I have an iron in my fist. Right? There's intensity and explosion with this energy. We will have this opposition happening on January the 3rd at precision between Cancer and Mars, a Cancer out of his element and maybe overly emotional, and Mars opposite Pluto. When we had Mars and Venus and Taurus, one of his signs of detriment, where he's not in his best game, we had the insurrection thing, or the riots, or the rebellion, or the protests on Capitol Hill. Back during the inauguration time around Joe Biden taking power. So you see this, and Stop the Steal. You see that Mars, when he's not in his best form, can look really gnarly, right? Like the guy with the horns, the shaman guy at the protest. So Mars is opposite Pluto, and it's about to move into the sign here. And we'll see this Mars-Pluto opposition 2 more times, on January 3rd and April 27th. January 3rd and April 27th, but Mars will be in Leo January 3rd at 1 degree, and Pluto will be at 1 degree of Aquarius. And then on April the 27th, we'll have Mars at 3 degrees of Leo and Pluto at 3 degrees of Aquarius. And so that window of time is repeating some of the tension we see now. But honestly, if I use a sign-based idea, it's maybe a different story. It's all coming off the Pluto-Mars conjunction that happened a few months ago and at the beginning of the year. And I will be covering that story in more depth on my Monday week ahead video that will be coming out after this one, because that video will dive into the Pluto-Mars opposition narrative for the week of Monday. What is the date, guys? What is the date on that week, that gnarly week that we all are going to buckle up and buckle down? Monday, the 28th of October. So ready for that. Through to November, the whatever the next date will be. So that week ahead video will have more about the Mars-Pluto opposition. But anyway, you see the tension in the sky. This is Kassandra. She is a prophetess. She's a seer. She could predict the future and accurately, but nobody listened to her. She was cursed by Apollo. She couldn't get anyone to listen to what Kassandra had to say. I have Kassandra in my 10th house. I'm always telling people what's going to happen in the future, and nobody ever listens. I got 10th house Neptune conjunction Scorpio Kassandra at birth, and I always feel the weight of knowing the future but not being able to warn people, or warning them and nobody listens. So whatever is going on with Kassandra here, Pluto is death, Capricorn is death of the old power structures, death and rebirth regarding dark stories like P. Diddy and Epstein and Harvey Weinstein. All these are very, very Pluto and Capricorn. Also Wall Street mismanagement, the dark side, Occupy Wall Street, the money, the governed, the money, the plutocracy, the aristocracy, the oligarchies of the world. That is the dark side of Pluto Capricorn stories that we've been unearthing and digging up and experiencing them, excavating them, seeing them for what they are ever since 2008, when Pluto ingressed into Capricorn, and he's leaving on November 19th, never to be seen again. But before he goes, he has one big blast of explosive energy here. And why Kassandra? Maybe it's going to be look like there were a lot of people who are out there shouting to the high hills, be careful, watch out, this is coming, and it'll be seen to be true, but the warnings didn't matter. That's an example of that. And that may not be the warnings that you and I hear in our lives, right? This may not be warnings that we are getting wind of as an ordinary citizen of the United States. I'm Canadian, because we also see that stealthy Mercury is involved over here, and he happens to do with, of course, stealthy things, which is things to do with intelligence communities. And well, maybe intelligence communities are making warnings to governmental bodies or people in power, and they're giving prophetic watch outs, and nobody is listening. And that could be very much what this could be talking about. I don't know for sure. That's Typhon right next to Mercury, the god of the monsters under the sea, but also of storms and like typhoons. So it just represents stormy energy in a water sign, Scorpio. Who has their sun here but Joe Biden? Biden's 12th house Scorpio sun is around 27 Scorpio, sitting on the stormy energetics of Mercury, Typhon, typhoon. FYI, Kamala Harris being a woman who did not bear her own children, and a woman who can be considered more Diana-like, for archetypal female that's more independent or fierce. Could be indeed an archetype of Diana, new beginnings, new moon, fierce feminine force at a crossroads. But what about the fact that Joe Biden's sun is in the house of hospitals? So if there's anything that could come from this lunation, is Joe Biden ends up in a hospital. That's one thing. And Kamala has to take the reins of power before the election. Now, what about other people? Well, Vladimir Putin has his ascendant in Scorpio as well, and this new moon is going to connect to his ascendant. So new beginnings, new moons for him are coming up. Threshold crossroads. Goddess of the light, Lucifera, Diana Lucifera is here. Diana means celestial, heavenly one from the celestial realms of the heavens. So she's a very lofty goddess, right? And she's a daughter of, sister of Apollo and daughter of Jupiter. So we could say that in some ways, maybe Vladimir Putin will face a crossroads choice coming up soon, sometime near this actual moon on November 1st, regarding settlements or decisions for ending the war between Russia and Ukraine. That war is already dead on the stalk. You know, when you cut flowers and you put them in a vase and they look like they're still blossoming, but they're not. You know that they have no real life force. They're living on borrowed time. That's that war already. That war was born of a certain set of conditions in the sky that already showed that that war is over. It's just it's wrapping up, right? We haven't seen full evidence, but it's coming to the close. And in that regard, we'll see maybe this new beginning, new moon at a crossroads for Vladimir Putin indicates a change of course. And he's coming up with a crossroads moment. Now, I talked briefly about the world destroyer Apophis in the intro. I mentioned the name of it. Apophis is an asteroid that could destroy the Earth in 2029 and again in 2033. Apparently, it's going to miss us, but you never know. For some reason, all astrology softwares, including my professional software, stops delineating Apophis after like April 18th, just before it hits its closest approach to Earth. And we can't use it anymore in delineations. Why? Why have they taken the mathematics of the asteroid out? Maybe because it's uncertain, right? Because it's going to be so close to Earth, could be wobbling a bit. So Apophis, a lot of astronomers are looking at whether they need to get some satellites up there, some weapons, some laser guns to push it away from Earth if it gets too close. So there's this danger in the sky that we haven't yet fully recognized. But Apophis, the world destroyer, happens to be at 28 degrees of Libra. 28 degrees of Libra is in a square to Mars at 29 degrees of the sign of Cancer, and Pluto at 29 degrees of the sign of Capricorn. And we have a very difficult T-square happening at the same time as the moon, because Mars, the owner of the moon, is in the T-square. We are talking about it. That is why we are mentioning it. Mars is also connected to Juno here. Mars is squaring Juno. Juno is the goddess of partnerships in business and love. If you are Kamala Harris, her partner is the president of the United States, Joe Biden. Mars cut and sever, Pluto death, cut and sever a snip. The partner of a Libra sun. Who's a Libra sun? Who's a Libra sun? Is Kamala Harris. Where is her sun? Right where Juno and Apophis are sitting. This is also where Netanyahu's sun is sitting. So the son of Netanyahu and the son of Kamala Harris are both in the crosshairs of the Mars-Pluto square. Both of them are going to feel a lot of turbulence coming off this November 1st moon. You can maybe even feel it a couple of days before, and certainly in the couple of weeks after. Now, for a breaking up of like a world destroyer of a Juno union, right? That makes sense that Kamala and Joe could have a falling out, so to speak, because Joe's in the hospital. But if it's for Netanyahu, I don't know what that is. That could be a breakage regarding legal agreements or treaties, or because Israel is a Libra rising. And so yes, Mars is squaring the Libra 23-degree ascendant of the nation of Israel. And the fourth house is land and property and real estate. Kassandra has prophecies and predictions. You know, greater Israel, says the Bible, Amalek, we shall destroy them. The walls of Jericho go down. We'll slaughter everyone. All those biblical myths are based on prophecies and predictions that if you are a religious person in a Zionist way, you may want to say, well, it's our prophetic homeland and we're supposed to get it back. You don't know what greater Israel is in terms of the map that was drawn by the Zionist movement. It includes Lebanon. Okay, so we may indeed see some Lebanon problems emerging with Israel in a big and hard and difficult and brutal and explosive and ghastly way off of this new moon. I know we all can't deal with anymore. I put out a video already and I said, hey, Virgo rising Lebanon is going into eclipse cycle that started September 17th. It's already, we saw what's happened since September 27th with Lebanon and some destruction, missiles, bombing, hardship from Israel. And bottom line is that every time Lebanon goes through this cycle, like without fail, this eclipse cycle, there is civil war, there is breaking apart of factions within the country, the struggle for who's the ruler of the country. There are attempts at regime changes every time as outside countries interfere with the country of Lebanon, and they end up in war and skirmishes around their own borders, particularly with Israel. So this is nothing new. And unfortunately, Lebanon is under a next 18-month window of time, or up to 2 years, because it really in earnest begins next January. So that doesn't speak to a very easy situation in the Middle East at all over the next year. So that's a cheerful topic. I'm sorry about that, guys. One last thing. What is this thing here? Do you see it? What is this? That's Volcanus, a trans-Neptunian. It works. I've been using trans-Neptunians for a long time. I'm going to read to you from the Uranian astrologer what this trans-Neptunian is about and why do we care about this trans-Neptunian? Why? Because watch what I'm about to show you. All right? Because think explosive, think brutality, but I want to read what the UranianAstrologer.com says about Volcanus, who is also, I believe, the forge smith of the gods, who created the thunderbolts for Zeus, which were weapons. Okay, here we have Mars at 29 degrees, and we're going to watch Mars move forward. Okay, and then we're going to do your sign, I promise. What? Clinkety, clinkety, clink. Mars is moving forward. There he goes. Keep watching on the outer rim because it's a transit chart on the outside. And I wonder, when will Mars actually connect to this particular celestial body? Because it will be explosive. Yes, here we are around November 20th, inauguration day. Okay. No, inauguration day. So that's January 20th, November 20th. So we have an election, which is probably too close to call. Very likely we're going to end up with some kind of recount or some kind of battle for who really won. And my software won't stop now that I did the clickety click, but just know that you're going to see Volcanus around the third week of November intersect Mars intersect Volcanus, and that is going to be a very explosive and very difficult energy. That's probably the only way I can stop the software from moving by itself. Tick, 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 tick. I'm about to read to you right now a little bit about Volcanus, knowing that this trans-Neptunian body is going to be connecting into this story with Mars. Chiron is conjunct the asteroid house. Mars rules Chiron, Mars rules the lunation. I thought a house divided, a wounded house. And when I think about the election during this time, Mars is, the lunation lord. Mars is also squaring Chiron and house from Cancer to Aries, a divided house. And this is probably going to look like, I think, an election in which we have a president who does not have control of the House or maybe Senate, both, right? So a lame duck kind of vibe, except for executive orders. We may have such a division that this election looks something like a president with no control of Senate and House, not just either or. That would be maybe what that sky is showing us. So the Uranian astrologer has a little bit of a take, and I'm going to give it to you right now. So Volcanus represents masculine energy, great strength and brute force, and vitality and recuperation, recuperative powers. It's the athlete with a powerful physique, the athlete, yet when it's weak or insecure and it is manifesting negatively, Volcanus, well, Mars is about to conjunct Volcanus. Volcanus is capable of brutality and violence. Now, volcanic explosion and massive potential energy is how she describes it. And basically, he was the son of Zeus and Hera, Volcanus, and he was deformed. So he's Hephaestos, the wife of Venus, husband of Venus. So he's Hephaestos, a deformed husband of Venus who fell from the sky and was tossed, into like a deformed dude like that, right? And basically, he has the powers to produce motion, and he has great strength. And she has him in various charts using Neptunian astrology, Uranian astrology techniques, which is different than the major ones. We have Tiger Woods having a strong Volcanus energy in his chart. Of course, he kind of had a big catastrophe to his reputation. That's the golf player. But here's what I'd say. Volcanus was like Hephaestos. He is the same god, Hephaestos and Volcanus. And they both forged things that were magical. And he was the armorer of the gods, the weapon maker for Zeus. Now, it's interesting that Netanyahou has Hephaestus on his midheaven, and he called it the Iron Swords War, because basically it's all about the missiles and the bunker buster bombs and the devastation that the armorer of the gods, Hephaestus, provided the midheaven of Netanyahou. Yeah, you cannot make this stuff up. You just cannot make it up. And in this regard, it's ironic that Netanyahou is got this placement in his sky, because we also see that right now Mars is about to jump into the arms of this weapon maker, energetic Volcanus as well, just in the aftermath of this election. when, especially after the 4th of November, like after the 3rd and into the 4th, we see Mars cross the boundary between the sign of Cancer and into the sign of Leo. Now, a lot of you know that Donald Trump is a Leo rising, but this Volcanus Mars is close to his Pluto, around 6 degrees of Leo, but not to his ascendant at 29. Yet it's still a difficult placement for Donald Trump. Where Pluto sits can also bring him into contact with great physical danger and hospitals. So the last thing I want to say is we can see also the Pluto placement in the first house of Donald Trump at 6 degrees or so of the sign of Leo, being activated by this Volcanus energy conjunct Mars just after the election. Alrighty, that's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot, guys. It is a heck of a lot. Mars will move through Trump's first house, get to the 6 degree station on Pluto kind of thing, turn around, and not even get back to Cancer until, January 6th. So we have a lot of Mars energy hitting Donald Trump, which can make his fighter even more intense, winners, losers, fighters, that fist pumping energy that he had. Mars in his first house, if it doesn't kill him, will make him stronger during this transit. So we shall see what happens. Now, for the next thing I want to talk about is your sky. You are not a war. You are not an election. You are not a government in turmoil. You are you, but you still have to deal with a crossroads goddess lunation ruled by Mars at the anaretic and turbulent degree of Cancer. So we're going to talk today about your sign, about how the Mars-Pluto opposition energy is important to your life and how it dovetails or flows into or influences this change of crossroads decisions in the sign of Scorpio, which is one of 12 whole sign house sky positions in your chart. Please use whole sign houses. You will understand why I want to learn how to use astrology using Time Lord tools, but trust me, you don't know how to calculate your chart in whole sign houses, or you don't even know what your rising sign is. There's a free video tutorial in my description box below. Go get it and just scroll to the bottom for freebies. Okay, freebies. Want to learn how to use the minor asteroids in your chart? Scroll down to my free amazing asteroids course. Over 6,000 people have taken that opportunity to learn the rabbit hole. Once you go down the rabbit hole of minor asteroids, you never come back. You never come back. You will be blue pilled, red pilled. You'll be red pilled all the way. All right, let's go through each sign. Let's start off with Aries, of course, not Scorpio. So we'll get going and we'll get started. Am I recording? I am, thank God. All right. So I might be putting out a second video on this moon because it's such an intense one, but this one is coming out I'm recording on October 22nd for my Patriot community who gets this today, early access ad-free. And you guys are going to receive this on Thursday, the 24th. And then closer to November 1st, I may pop out an update because I won't know what world events have transpired yet. So I will update it as we get closer. Just so you know, that's the asteroid house over here next to Chiron, a house divided, Senate. Or is it a House United fraternity? So again, maybe it's simply the Republicans take the House and Senate and Kamala Harris takes the executive office. That's my best guess, by the way. Don't troll me for astrology on elections. I don't know why people do that. It's just astrology. That's Salacia for scandal. There's scandal in the world going on everywhere, including P. Diddy. Salacious, scandalous stuff, especially around sexual issues, are on the North Node. And that's what we've seen in the Sean Combs P. Diddy narrative, just the most recent iteration of these stories. And I just wanted to point out that's Typhon right here next to Mercury. That's Apophis next to Juno. And that's Kassandra. No one listened to her warnings, but she knew the future on Pluto down here. By the way, Mars is up in the 10th house of Israel. That's its rulers or ruling power, like it's Netanyahou and the people who hold him up to power. So there's Mars in that part of the sky, very intense for the leadership of Israel as well. Now let's get going and let's look at the sky bit by bit from each sign, starting with Aries. And we're having to go back in time. So let's just do that, or forward in time. I'll go forward in time. Yes, I'm not patient. I'm triple Aries, Sun, Moon, and Mercury. In a sense, I really don't have patience for software. I click it and it goes on without me, and then I get pissed off at it. All right, here we have it. Oh, that's some Sagittarius. I apologize, guys. Why did I think I actually had good old Aries up here. Aries, 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 sun, moon, and rising. Now, Mars is the lord of your sign, so whatever he does, you better pay attention. So Aries people, this is important. We have Mars anoretic, 29 turbulent degrees in the fourth house of land, home, property, and real estate, and your domestic private life. Opposite Pluto in the house of career and reputation. Now, honestly, two different agendas, right? Pluto is like wealth and power in my career, and Mars is like cutting, severing, and ending at the bottom of the sky in the midnight hour. You may have some kind of real push-pull coming up off of this new beginning, triple thresholds goddess kind of, Diana infused moon to make some critical turning point decisions about your career versus your home and home life. At what cost have you had Pluto in your 10th house since 2008? At what cost has the power and wealth had on your home and domestic life? Technically, you could move with this Mars, and you may even move to another country. This is the exile position, like the expat. But you may choose to locate yourself far away from your natal home as well, just because it's such an intense redefinition of self, almost an explosive, almost brute force. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. I'm quitting my home. I'm quitting my homeland even. You got to watch out for this, for a little bit of that old domestic violence energy. I mean, seriously, watch out around the time of the moon, especially, let's say, Halloween. Let's go October 31st to November 3rd. If you're already in a relationship that is being quite simply domestically violent, I would go to a friend's house and stay away, because I don't like this for anyone involved in control and power structures. Mars Pluto means control and narcissism and brute force and violence. And you don't want to be home during this if you're in any kind of dicey situation with somebody who is violent. Just beware. It's not good for those of you who are persisting in violent relationships. Leave the house during not just the moon, but October 31st to November the 4th. Now, also, we see that this is a moon. I've never given advice like this, but this one for you guys, I do. Because, Mars in the sign of Cancer is domestic violence. And then you put him opposite Pluto and in the house of the home, and you get it on steroids for Aries. Forewarned is forearmed, right? Says Kassandra. But otherwise, moving your home, changing your home, renovating your home, constructing your home dramatically. When? In the 6 months that follows a new moon. Mars owns the moon, and he's talking about what he wants to do in the bounds of what the moon delineates. The moon is really connected here to Diana, the crossroads goddess in your 8th house of chunky money. When I say chunky money, you don't earn it directly. It's unearned income. It's very possible you're getting this income in context of shared resources with business and spouse, money from inheritances, money from ad revenue on YouTube, commissions and royalty income from your books, things that you get tax rebates, structures of money like a bank loan and a mortgage. You share this money. It's not just all your very own. You are a shareholder in a company, and this kind of money is a crossroads moment. Is it a crossroads about investing, de-investing, taking money out of the markets, putting money in? Is it a crossroads around an inheritance that may be coming to you? It is possible with Mars squaring Juno that you could be coming into spousal shared assets through divorce or separation as a result of the 6 months that follows, or that you may come into some money because of legal agreements being fractured or broken. So a severance package by quitting your job might be an example. And those are kinds of monies that 8th house money can delineate. So there's a change in your monetary status for sure. I don't know. Apophis, a world destroyer on Juno in the house of marriage with the South Node, is destabilizing in long-term love stories. So be careful for that. Mars may want to destabilize you, but it's all about your money, because he's the lunation lord. So even if he squares Juno Apophis, South Node, he's all about increasing your financial wellness. And so even a break in a marriage type relationship, long-term committed love, can lead to greater financial gain for you. And it's turbulent, right? We have Mercury there with, the storm god, but it is maybe what is trying to happen here. You may be divided yourself. You got Chiron and you're a house divided, or just a house. Are you actually in some kind of chironic wound regarding the word domestic or home or house? These are things that you may be pondering and having to come to terms with as an Aries at this time. I kind of think I am like that as an Aries sun and moon, especially my moon. I want a different home. I want to be able to walk outside and put my feet in the grass. I had a dream about that just the other day, and I was visiting Lada Shiva at her home, Astrolada, and she's an archetype for me. and I was putting my feet on the grass, and I know that I have this chironic wound around home right now. I want to be in nature, not in a high rise in a city, which I'm in. So there's something there. Maybe in the 6 months, a lot of Aries will rehome themselves to a place that feels more like what they're looking for, especially with where Mars is sitting. But you have the bank loans, mortgages, refinances, and the financial ability to do the rehoming over the 6 months that follows this moon. All moons are 6 months long in terms of the big story, but also indications of opportunities in the first 2 weeks as well after this moon. And moving on, says the girl with dry eyes, to the next story. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. Well, Taurus, this is your Diana crossroads triple thresholds goddess in the house of significant business contracts, legal agreements, and long-term significant love relationships. New moons and new beginnings could indicate you're about to begin a new long-term love relationship. And with Mercury ruling your house of romance and sexuality, it doubles down on that. He's co-present with the moon. It's very likely a lot of you could look at this opportunity as, oh, I'm going to start a new relationship that's meaningful and committed, sometime either in the 2 weeks that follow the moon or in the 6 months after. But you're also in a thresholds goddess triple crossroads energy. It's a big deal for you. You know that it's left, right, or back the way you came. There's something that you need to understand. Lucifera is here. Diana was a light bringer in the darkness of a dark moon. You're really able to see more what you want and what you should have and what you need in long-term committed love. And maybe you could up level a new beginning, like we're going to move in, we're going to get married, we're going to do something different, we're going to commit now from the dating stance. So there's a new beginning in those relationships for sure. With Mars moving through your third house, right, at this time opposite Pluto, major intensity is happening for you around the following people or situations: your neighbors and neighborhood, short distance travel, third house matters, right? The rewards of your karma are here in Vedic astrology, and you're working hard to get the rewards from your eighth karmatic Sagittarius eighth house. But also Mars here is very much opposite Pluto in the ninth. And that is like some kind of intense explosive energy that could emerge from father figures, things to do with professors, human resources, guides, mentors, and therapists can be ninth house people, and matters to do with communication, especially phone calls, text messages, and emails, because we often use those sorts of kinds of talks, communications in the third house. So an explosive phone call, text messages, an email that shocks you or rattles you or destabilizes you can happen close to this moon for sure. This is going to be more active through to November the 4th, of course, while Mars is still in the sign of Cancer. A blowout with a sibling younger, a cousin, uncle, niece, nephew, neighbor as well. If you're dealing with court battles and lawsuits regarding judges and legal matters, this is an intensity, a defining moment, a turning point, crossroads energy too, regarding themes of lawsuits, legal matters, courts, and judgments, especially if those courts and judgments require legal documents. You know what I mean? Third house is I sign the legal papers, I make the agreement, I shake the hand. So there's a big turning point for a lot of Tauruses on those themes right there. And the only other thing I might mention, with Mercury up here with the storms, even though there may be a new beginning, a threshold of new change in your long-term love relationship that exists, or the new one that wants to start, I think that the crossroads is about the decisions you make. It may just be turbulent with you and your partner making some decision about the relationship or partner to be, rather than that it's actually a turbulent relationship. When nobody likes to choose A, B, or C. We always have this moment of paralysis when we have to make choices, and so the storms may be the storm you need to choose. You do have Algol Uranus conjunction right now in the house of you that was initiated on July 15th by Mars, giving you a 2-year window of critical change in your life about home, love, relationship, and career. Please go watch my Mars and Uranus video in my playlist. Please do. 2024 big transits for you. It's absolutely critical that you guys watch that video. It gives you the 2-year delineation of this massive change that you are under. Home, major relationship, and career and self are under major change. Okay, just got to watch the video. Now I'm feeling like I need a chocolate break, and I'm not even at Libra. My normal chocolate breaks are the Libra time. And oh my God, I need to sponsor chocolate, guys. My favorite brand is NU. I love their chocolate from Italy, brother sister creations, and it is the most pure and most delicious and melt in your mouth chocolate. The dark sea salt or the hazelnut filling, yeah, you can't even go there. I need to reach out and ask them if they want to. I could be an affiliate for their chocolate. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising sign. It is a story of a new moon ruled by Mars in Cancer that is for you, going to very much potentially change your work. You are at a crossroads decision point, 3 possible ways to go back or 2 new directions. Which are you going to do? You're uncovering your deeper motives for what you do for your service in your work. You see, your 6th house can be servitude, duty, slavery. It was a house of slavery, indentured servitude, but it's also service where you pay off your karmic debt from the 8th. And so how you serve your debts like credit cards, bank loans, and mortgages, or your indebtedness to your own karma to pay back things to serve the debt. This is an archetype of the 6th house. So in many ways, then you may be looking at a new beginning and a crossroads around literal debt, like pay off the credit card, the mortgage, etc. Or maybe more metaphorically, the work you do, the service you do to the world. You're making some changes in what you do. It's a triple crossroads threshold moment that this moon offers you with some turbulent storms, because Mercury is on Typhon there, Typhon. And you know, it's a bit stormy and there's some monsters under the Scorpio swamp, and you're not too sure about if it's safe to change the work. It's also equally true that it's safe to change your health protocols. It's safe to change your addictive substance uses, etc. Is it? Which direction do you go? Mars is opposite Pluto, and as the lunation lord, especially closer to the actual November 1st moon, you're coming into some crisis turning point decisions regarding matters connected to your money that you earn versus the money that you can use from your inheritances and your investment structures. And I have a progressed Gemini sun. I just put a bunch of money in guaranteed investment certificates at a higher yield before the Bank of Canada reduces their rates. But it's almost like explosive turning point energy connected to your long range monies, you know, taxes and investments and 401ks or RRSPs if you're in Canada, money you share with a spouse, money you share with your, you know, separation agreements and stuff like that, you know, when you're getting a divorce. And that kind of 8th house money, that and ad revenue on YouTube for me, that kind of 8th house money is opposite Mars in the hustle mode. Mars is a self-starter in the 2nd house. Let's make money. Let's get on with our spend it, make it, invest it. But he's a self-starter. He's very independent. People born with a Mars in 2nd house are often entrepreneurial. I have that position in my chart. You may find, though, that this is like a crisis vibe. You have some kind of like clobbering moment around, you know, the moon itself in the few days after, where you're just really focused on some kind of change of direction regarding money, earnings, and work, coming to a threshold or a crisis energetically for you. Mercury involved in the moon is the ruler of the 4th house, and he's in the house of rental property, like to lease or to be a landlord or a tenant. And therefore, because it's like serfdom and stuff. So therefore, there's some major turning points as well around the idea of rental property. So maybe you're going to rent a new property or make decisions around what you want to lease. And these things are small in a way, but they're also life-changing, because this is a thresholds moon, and decisions you make now will unfold over the course of 6 months, not just 2 weeks. It's a longer arc of time. You know, with Mars squaring Juno and Apophis in the 5th house of entrepreneurship, major changes in your agreements around your entrepreneurial businesses, major changes in your relationship to your romantic love partner that you're committed to, and major changes could come that you need to make with your children, like, you know, breaking some agreements with your children or money agreements with your children financially, coming to a critical turning point as well in this energetic of this moon. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. First off, what are you going to do, right? Full moon, new moon, offering a crossroads decision in your 5th house of children. The ones you have or the ones you wish to conceive, the ones that are children, the ones that are adults, they're your kids. especially the firstborn. And Mars is you owning this territory. You are acting like Mars when? Ever since September 4th, when Mars entered your sign. And so you're more decisive, you're more hot-headed, you're more emotional. You might have burned yourself with hot water or something like that. Might have gotten some hot water stories going, but you're still Mars and you're moving forward with your action plans and decisions. Mars cuts and severs, so he decides, cuts things from in one side to the other. Well, you need to make a decision at a crossroads. Mars is your guy. So is it a crossroads decision about your children, for your children, or with your children? These things may be occurring for some of you Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. New beginnings in the fifth house, new moon in the house of children could indicate a conception, perhaps, with Diana, the goddess of women in labor and protector of women in childbirth. So yes, possibly there is an indication for a conception for one of you Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising, especially Rising, coming in the 6 months that follows the new moon. We conceive everything here. Conceive a baby book, a baby project, a baby art project, a baby business, and a baby biologically. There's some turbulence going on. Mercury, communications with your children, the sea god, the Typhon. Are they in a stormy time? Are you looking on as Mars, witnessing the storms your children are going through? It is a trine. You have compassion, but you're looking at choices your child is making, perhaps, or your lover. Long-term love is the 7th, but those romantic liaisons are the 5th. And so long-term lovers, lovers and children may be making critical turning point decisions, and you're just witnessing that. When I look at Pluto, though, opposite, you also have turbulence in your long-term committed love stories as well, their marriage house. So, your marriage partner may want one thing, you want the opposite for your children, for your sex life, for your romantic life. And there's like this real catastrophically intense moment around the October 31st to the 4th, where you might have a blowout around matters of love, romance, sexuality, or how you and a committed partner deal with children. What about the fact that Pluto and Mars is squaring, the Juno thing? Well, that would be bad for your marriage, because you got to be careful not to have the blowout of a century with your marriage partner, because it's like breaking up in the house, breaking agreements that we live together domestically, and the world destroyer on Juno in the house of the home. You may also make a decision to break an agreement, like you own a home or you rent a home and you want to break the agreements around that. And, you and your partner are fighting about whether you agree or not to agree to sell a property, for example. That's a story that I could see in the sky around this moon. The long range story of the moon is to give you a new beginning in the 5th house, new creativity, new entrepreneurial business, new art projects, new children, new relationships and ways of dealing with and being with those children, new sex life opportunities, new romance. But you have to make choices. Triple thresholds are here. And what is this chironic wound up here, connected to the word house? That's, also in a, connection to what Mars is up to, squares Mars. So maybe it's some kind of chironic wound around your home, your domestic life, or property that a lot of you Cancers are also looking more squarely at around the moon in the 6 months that follow, as well as the 2 weeks that follow. Now, I'm going to stop this for a sec. I'm going to ask you to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That does really make a difference. I had about 5,000 or 6,000 we probably dumped out the bottom of my channel in the month of 3rd week of September to 3rd week of October. That's the YouTube every 3rd month scrub of the so-called bots. You're not a bot, because I hear from you. I was like, my main subscribers saying that they got unsubscribed in the last 30 days. So please check to see if you're still, people have been watching my channel forever that I always know who they are. They're in the live chats with me and they're like gone. So if you've been unsubscribed, please double check. I will appreciate you resubscribing. And if you're new, please try me out. I put out like 30 to 40 videos a month, always all signs. I'm extremely productive here on YouTube. So I'll see you in a minute. I'm getting a chocolate break. I'll be right back. All right, let's continue and move through the next sign. And I did have some amazing chocolate. All right, Leo, sun, moon, and rising sign. The sky is showing us a full moon, new moon in the bottom of your chart. This is 4th house. It belongs to like your domicile, right? Your home, where you live, your private life, what you're doing in the nighttime, where you sleep, where you lay your head at night, and your privacy of your private life, opposite to your public 10th house life. So in this private home life energetic, even if you live in a tent, you got to sleep somewhere. That's the 4th house. That fourth house placement is having a crossroads moment with the energetics of the triple threshold goddess Diana sitting on the moon. Major turning points are happening. Thresholds are crossed here in the 2 weeks up and even 6 months that follow this new moon. The new moon is a little turbulent. We can see that you have, Typhon here with Mercury. So sea monsters and storms are here. It's not an easy crossroads, but it is a crossroads nonetheless. A decision is going to be made or action is going to be taken regarding home, land, property, real estate, where you live, and what goes on within your private and domestic life. This is a moon that's ruled by Mars in your 12th house. And the 12th house is those secret backroom deals and negotiations behind the scenes, but it's also your own karmic chains that can bind you, because this connects you to ancestral stories, family of origin stories, and matters to connect to other lifetimes. And so there may be a major spiritual moksha liberation vibe where some of you are going to break some kind of karmic or familial chains that bind you. But on another note, you may just move from your home. And some of you may move from your home and want to travel abroad, travel to another country, explore the world with Mars in this 12th house, or move for educational reasons out of the home that you live in, especially if you're living in a family home with your family, your mom and dad. But I also would notice that opposite Mars, Pluto, at the time of the moon is kind of baking in this intensity that says what is going on in the work area, the 6th house, or the health area, and your own self-undoing, self-sabotage, bad habits, and addictions. How are you literally your own worst enemy? And you're trying to bust through something here, some kind of catapult out of, sabotaging your own life. And is there something that must transform about the way you've been doing the work you do since 2008? And Mars is helping you make actions and decisions that transform that. With your 6th house, it can also be an energy of Mars across the way of breaking any kind of karmic debts. Sometimes we don't know we have a karmic debt relationship until it's over. We go, I must have had some karmic debt with that thing. I'm so glad I'm done. So karmic debt relationships can fracture here. I can't tell you who your karmic debt relationships are, Leo. Obviously, that's not my job. To inform you of that, but there is a possibility it can be definitely a significant other, because that's where Pluto's heading next, into the marriage house. So the end of a karmic debt marriage kind of thing can be conceivable in this kind of chart, meaning a long-term committed love story in essence. But decisions must be made. And so separating the home, or the separation from the home, or cutting in the home may be possible, with Mars moving into Leo. So that some of you are looking at, is it time for this relationship to come to a close? That could be a story for some Leos. Mars is also in a square to Juno and Apophis in your 3rd house. And your 3rd house is like, where might you need to make a major fracture or change or break about agreements you've made, vows you've taken regarding a younger sibling, one younger than you, or regarding vow or agreements with neighbors, or people in your extended family, like those aunts, uncles, and cousins. If you have any agreements or vows that you've made, it's time to let them go, especially with the South Node, Apophis, Juno, breaking and fracturing alliances with these people that we're just talking about. And because, of course, it's a 3rd house, 6th house, 12th house matter, a lot of this can look like a change regarding work, a work situation. If your work explosively changing off of this new moon is connected to online businesses, or the 3rd house can also be work connected to you work in a local shop or restaurant in the neighborhood. And if any of those things are true, then there could be a big breaking away, as you not just leave the job or leave the work, but leave a pattern, a karmic pattern or indebtedness, and it's time to fracture or end that. And I don't know, you got a wound up here with Chiron and house, and you got some big new beginnings with crossroads decisions regarding home, property, land, and real estate. So consider that maybe you're going to also move, and you may see the next 6 months for some of you Leos looking like a relocation opportunity. And don't want to forget, around the 3rd week of November, Mars will co-join with Volcanus, and you're going to be explosive. You're the one with a temper. You're the one like a volcano going up and blowing up, and probably at your marriage type partners. Okay, so be careful for that too. Just a heads up for you Leos. Right. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising sign. So you have a crossroads, a decision, a turning point, thresholds, critical juncture in your third house with this new moon. And the third house has to do with neighbors, neighborhood, younger sibling, cousin, aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews. Things to do with your online world, things to do with skills-based learning or teaching, like taking a course and learning something. But, it's your everyday life. It's what you do on the everyday. Do you go to the gym? Do you work out? Do you go jogging? Do you go to this coffee shop all the time? How do you spend? It's a fishbowl in which you swim. Yeah, yeah, an Adam Ellen Bus, my teacher and friend. And how do you actually literally make a decision here about something that has a crossroads potential? Now, if you do writing and writing projects, you may be making crossroads decisions around some of your writing projects for sure. And if you work in a local spot, like you work at a local company, this is, and you go into the office, this is a big changing energy, crossroads decisions, thresholds, energetic is happening here. And you'll notice it's ruled by Mars. And Mars is saying, but I'm up here in the house of great gains, career rewards, the way your career rewards you, because you get promotions and raises and you get, more influence and you get more money and all the good things that you want to rewards of your 10th house of career. And Jupiter is making you expansive and bold and lucky, although he is retrograde until February. And you may be rethinking some of your career gains and maybe rethinking what you want and don't want. And I don't know, Mars could have you want to make a cut or end or sever or change something connected to the way you work, the work you do, and the routines of your work as well. Now, Mars up here is in the house of friends, and those are your your big social networks and your larger groups of friends, and maybe just some of the friends that you call friends in my network. And cutting, ending, and severing. Either your relationship with an elder sibling could happen, one above you, or cutting, ending, and severing energetically regarding those friends. And with the opposition to Pluto, this is like a very feisty energy, because Pluto is in the house of what gives us enthusiasm and vitality and fun and joy and pleasure and sexual romantic life. And Mars is cutting from the house of what your dreams and desires really are. It could be just an explosive moment in a relationship with a friend. It has some connection to pleasures you enjoy together. Pleasures are the fifth house. But I would be careful if you're a Virgo for having a massive explosive blowout with a friend over money, because Mars and Pluto square Juno in Apophis in the house of money. And so a big blowout with a friend or a child, if you are a parent, over financial matters is a risky place in the sky for you coming up around this moon on November 1st. Mercury is turbulent, and yet he's co-present with the moon. He's turbulent because he's on Typhon, turbulence with neighbors, neighborhoods, and all that stuff. But Mercury is also the ruler of your sign, Virgo. He's doing the best he can for you. And he may uncover some secret knowledge or hidden knowledge, because he's really good at that. And in the third house, it's information and knowledge, or not knowledge, but information, right? So uncovering information that you need to know about that serves you. Yet it may be a bit of a tempestuous uncovering, a bit of a stormy process coming up around the moon. And, with Mercury ruling your career house, some of what you uncover could have impact on your career and your career choices as well. So that's stuff I've got for you, Virgos, coming up off of this triple crossroads moon. Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. The sky says, first of all, you got to make a choice. You got Diana, the goddess of the light, Lucifera, but also of the crossroads decisions that must be made in the light of her lunation energy. And she's going to shine light into a dark moon. So where you've been uncertain or confused is about money. Like, it can be about your earnings, your job money, your possessions, the money that you're making in life or saving in life. And now you've got some crossroads decisions or crossroads choices you must make. And you might feel turbulent, and there's some sea monsters with Typhon under the sea and Mercury there. And it feels like, oh, spooky things are underneath my decisions to make changes in my career. Now, not my career, my work and money stories. But you know what? It's also your dietary style, what you ingest through the mouth and nose and stuff, nose, because all things are going down the throat, and the stuff that goes through your nose and your mouth, whether it's a drug or it's a food, is something that Mars is a ruler, cut and sever, ask you to make major choices about changing these things in your life. Also, it's your face and what your face looks like. And you may want a new beginning, a new crossroads change in your face. You get the dental work, the veneers, the nose job, the rejuvenational facelift or something. A lot of times the face is fixed these days, right? With surgery. Mars is the lord of surgery and dermabrasion and lasers, and he's the lunation lord. So you do it for your reputation. You want to look better in public because that's where Mars is sitting at the time of the moon. Some of you in the 6 months that follow may do some kind of facial rejuvenation or necessary surgery. But if you do something like that, it's because you want to look good at the top of the sky in this chart. And the new beginnings are turbulent emotionally. Scorpio's water. So if you're always, I'll never get a nose job, or I'll never get, upper blepharoplasty or something, or lower blepharoplasty, then you're going to change your mind and probably go for it. I've never had any surgery myself, by the way, but I'm not averse to it, but it's not like my priority. But if it's your priority, go for it, Libra, because you're a Libra and you prefer beauty and harmony and balance in your appearance and in all areas of life. Mars is opposite Pluto. What does that mean? Well, Mars is opposite Pluto when the moon is happening, and he's the lunation lord. So you're going to have an explosive push-pull between work and home. And work and home can be like you're doing something powerful that's making you rich, and you're almost like Kassandra, seeing the future from your home, and you know what's going to happen next. And now the boss at work is like, you've been home for 2 days? What do you mean? Like, you took 2 days off, get back to work. You may have explosive energy. You might want to quit a job. I like often see this as like people get all worked up, Mars in the 10th, Pluto in the bottom of the chart. Get all worked up and explosively want to quit your job, but your job quits you, or your boss or human resources loses their shit and they want to fire you. But I wouldn't worry about it. You're having a new beginning in the money house anyway. And with Algol wealth star in your 8th house with Uranus, possibly you're going to produce wealth through other income means like royalty income and ad revenue and investment money. So keep that in mind. All right. Notably, Mars is also squaring Juno, and that's you. You are the one looking at Apophis Juno. And Juno's like, do I keep my alliances? Do I keep my agreements? Do I keep what I've committed to, or do I not? You're making those decisions, and Mars is helping you do it. So it looks to me like you might want to quit an agreement around real estate, land, property, home, including rental, and or job and work. And new beginnings in your money with triple thresholds decisions. Go back the way you came, go to the left or the right. You're going to change it up. You're not going to be making money the same way. You're doing something new. This is a 6-month story. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising. Mars is your lord. You pay attention when moons happen in his sign. It's happening in the sign that is yours. Sun, career and purpose. Moon, body and home and mind. And ascendant, everything about your life. Most accurately, sometimes the best delineation, but listen for all three. A new beginning is offering you a Diana, Lucifera light in the dark of a new moon to see what's true and hidden from view as you investigate the underworld and the options to go straight, to go right, left, or back the way you came. 3 ways you can go. It's the why, the triple thresholds. That's how it looks, right? You're making the decisions here. You're taking the actions needed once you figure out what you want. What do you want, Scorpio? Because this is the kind of thing that is yours to choose. You are the one standing most clearly at the crossroads, career crossroads, Scorpio sun, a whole life crossroads, Scorpio rising, mental, emotional, and home life where you live, Scorpio moon. Mars is in your 9th house of God, and Pluto is in your 3rd house of goddess, with the prophet seer here. Probably some of you have been seeing like a psychic, a seer, a prophet who's telling you the future, but you're not listening. That could be that down there. Scryers, diviners, and oracles belong to the house of the goddess. And so you might be considering oracular guidance in your life. But you may also be looking at an explosive moment where there is some kind of tension between you and a father figure, or a younger sibling, or an aunt, uncle, cousin, niece, and nephew, or some explosive challenges regarding travel, passports, visas, frustration, but also blow-ups. Blowouts and blow-ups can happen with this energy. There's a square from Mars and Pluto to the goddess of marriage in the house of self-undoing, and with Apophis. And so because you're making a decision while you look across the way at the house of marriage and over at the house of children. You may be making decisions about children, about your marriage partners, what directions you want to go. But, there's also that T-square at the same time in the sky around this moon, and there may be some significant intensity around some kind of father figure, ninth house person, and things that were hidden from view, and agreements legally, right? Libra. And with Jupiter in your eighth house, some of you are aiming for an inheritance in the next year, by next June. If you haven't already gotten one, some of you will get one. And it's possible with Mercury as the Lord of your eighth house, and he's on the triple thresholds goddess crossroad storyline with the turbulence. You may come into some turbulence around courts, legal matters, lawsuits, inheritances in the 6 months that follows this lunation. Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign. First of all, this is one of those moons that you would dream about, it's in your 12th house. It's like, I had a dream and it was all about, I was at a triple thresholds with Mercury, the dream messenger there. I would encourage every Sagittarius listening, please watch your dreams as this new moon is beginning to happen. Go all the way from October 31st, the veil is thin, through to like November the 4th, because this time frame, this moon is in your dreams and will give you information with the psychopomp and the messenger of the dream world, Mercury, who puts the dreamers to sleep and wakes the dreamers up in the house of your unconscious, the collective unconscious, your karmic change from past lives. Certainly, it can be a really good triple thresholds goddess thing around changing your karmic relationship to your family of origin and your ancestral line patterns. It does indeed trine the Saturn position here, opening up the possibility for you of some major changes in your life because you've undone your family and karmatic and ancestral story. So it's very soul worky for you, especially because the 4th house, but it's not your home, is your soul work, right? And it's a moksha liberation house. And my feeling about this is that it could indicate for you this opportunity as well to travel abroad. And a lot of long distance travel is protected by Mercury in the 12th house, and you're sort of got a protector traveler saint with you. So new thresholds decisions around travel to far off and far distant shores is possible. Or a new beginning in making money in commerce through long distance borderless international revenue, working for a foreign company, moving to work for a foreign company, doing online revenue, digital and borderless. These are new beginnings and choices and thresholds for Sagittarius. Mars is opposite Pluto from the 8th house of inheritance money, the 8th house of money you share with your spouse. And there's could be blow-ups and big arguments with a spouse around shared financial resources. Or if you're in the separation agreement session or disclosures financially in the end of a marriage or whatever, these kinds of things are very explosive for you. Be careful not to fly off the handle in your voice or with each other during this time of this moon and the 2 weeks that follows most accurately. That's when it's going to be more intense. Mars is also in the sky in a square to Juno and to Apophis. Now, Apophis is a world destroyer and Juno is the agreement. So how are you destroying agreements that you may have made with your friends, with your allies, with an elder sibling, legal agreements and fractures with an elder sibling or a friend over money? I know a Sag who's entitled to some money from an elder sibling and legally should be getting it, but probably will have to go into some explosive moment here. I wonder too, if your 11th house, because it represents your longer range dreams and plans and goals, you might have a world destroying fracture of a sort of internal agreement you've made about what it is you really want to see in life happen, what your long range visions and goals and plans are, for your own life. And you may have a massive like breakthrough change around it. Like, come on, Pluto's in a money and earnings house and Mars is in a chunky money house and inheritances and shared resources. And even the 11th house is a pennies from heaven. So it hits you on a financial axis is what I'm saying. Okay. This is a square, a T square, this being highly, highly activated. And it's because Mars is the lunation lord that we're even paying attention to it. All said and done, If you have any addiction that you have not overcome, whether it's physical substance use or kind of a sabotaging pattern or habit, this is a new beginning and you can make choices to break it forever and ever. All right, Capricorn. Well, Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. You have a moon in the 11th house of good spirit that opens up decisions about three potential directions you can go in, backwards or two new forward momentum directions. These directions have to do with your career gains, the way you make money, to do with an elder sibling or someone who treats you like a younger sibling, a big brother, big sister energy who wants to support and help you, around allies, benefactors, and champions for you. And there's turning point decisions and opportunities this moon may present you, and you have to choose which way to go. And at the same time, it feels tempestuous or stormy because of Typhon with Mercury. And there's some sea monsters under there. And you're not too sure, is this a safe decision? It could impact your career gains or bring you some gains from a career path. At the same time that this Guys, my internet cut out. I don't know how far along I got on the last sign that I was doing. I have to staple this together on iMovie. I don't know why the internet cut out, but let's continue. And hopefully I'm not ripping off Capricorn because I'm not sure exactly what I said for you guys, but we're going to staple the two pieces together, Capricorn. Hallelujah. So I was just saying, basically, if I remember where I left off, yes, major decisions are being crossroad thresholded up in your 11th house. So good spirit could lead to some separation or time apart in the next 6 months from somebody you are in connection with in a long-term committed love relationship. Maybe it's a geographical issue. You have a chironic wound, but now you have the asteroid house. Maybe some of you are finally healing the chironic wound about your house, with house sitting on Chiron on the wound, and you're going to find a new house or a place of belonging. Let's keep that in mind. In the 6 months that follows the moon, Mars is ruling the moon. It's making some significant changes. It's angular to your 4th house of home, property, and real estate. It may indicate a new home as well for you guys. And if you're going to break any agreements or fracture them, they may be agreements you've made in the top of the sky regarding work situations or career matters as well. Some of that fracturing will be most obviously happening close on, like in Halloween to November the 4th or so. You can see the future. You are Pluto Kassandra. There could be a blowout here close to this moon between Halloween and November 4th. What kind of power struggle, what kind of explosive energy is happening with you and a business partner, you and a client, you and a long-term relationship partner. And it may almost be like, and we're breaking our agreements that we made in public, like, like a wedding vow, or the agreement we made to each other that the world knows about. So there can be some really difficult, explosive, especially for you Capricorn rising, marriage disagreements basically coming in this time of this moon. Ultimately, this moon, however, is opening up some opportunities for choices you want to make around the friendship groups, the groups of belonging, the friendship circles. Mercury's embedded in this story. He rules your 9th house of foreign lands. Money and career opportunities from allies and benefactors bring big, like older sister brother vibes in foreign places and foreign lands, or from foreign countries, or connected to visas and passports, may be emerging for some of you Capricorns. But also remember, the 9th house rules courts and legal matters too. And so you may have some blowouts in a marital situation, especially with Mars moving into the shared assets for a couple of months, and you might be battling in a legal court matter with a significant other over the assets in the wake of the moon and in the 6 months that follow. I hope everything I said in the beginning was there for you. I apologize if it wasn't. Doing my best with a technological failure, Capricorn, not my personal preference to rip anyone off. And then we have me, Aquarius rising, sun, moon, and sun and moon. Welcome to the story. What the heck are we going to do? We have a big full moon, new moon, new moon, new moon, new moon in new beginnings in our career and reputation house. Time for a new direction. Yes, we have them every year, but not with a triple goddess here. Go straight, back the way we came, go left or right. It's time for a decision. The light of Lucifera, the divine goddess Diana, is shining brightly in the dark moon to show us the way, to give us the direction. We have a thresholds, we have a crossroads moment. What are we going to do? What are we going to choose? Where are we going to go? And we have Mercury and the stormy sea god Typhon up here. It's maybe turbulent seas, and maybe you feel like there's monsters there. There's a Loch Nessie monster under the surface of our career ready to come up and scare us or something, because we're not sure. Maybe the changes feel daunting, or career decisions feel scary for us, or something like that. But certainly we're making changes in our reputation, in our public actions, and in our career as a result of this new moon on the thresholds goddess here. What about Mercury's rulership? He happens to rule your 8th house of chunky money over here, and he could be saying, we're going to make some changes in your career that provide more chunky money or give you more fun, joy, play, and pleasure. Okay, those are the places he rules, and he's talking to this moon. You know, maybe you want to make a career path that is less about the hustle and the hardship and the slog of earning the money and persevering in the marathon endurance called earning money. Maybe it's time to rely on ad revenue, royalty income, investment monies, and to take a step back from some of the hard work here or the difficult work of your career. Technically, some of you are retired. So what do you do in the outer world that everyone sees you doing? That's your 10th house. And what changes you need to make in that regard? What about Mars as a ruler of this moon in a sort of anaretic tussle at 29, 6th house, Pluto 12? Massive turbulent energies around addiction, self-undoing, sabotaging, health matters to do with work and work pace, and the career and work matters in terms of the habits and the routines around health and work. I don't have time to jog. I don't have time to exercise. I'm not doing my Pilates. What the hell? You should see me not be ready for the Camino, because I live an urban lifestyle, as my girlfriend says. And so this is probably a breakthrough moment coming. Oh, Halloween can be good. October 31st through to November the 4th, when this energy of the moon is really happening. But those changes we make in exercise and health routines, and getting rid of addiction, self-undoing, sabotage, or changes in our workplace or work habits, those changes are absolutely going to change our career, because it's basically a wedge in a good, positive way. But at the same time, Mars is also wanting to break agreements and fracture terms of vows in the 9th house of the third marriage, the 9th house of academics and visas and passports and foreign places and foreign travel and spiritual beliefs and philosophy. Or Mars is catalyzing some changes in that part of your life. Book publishing is here. Publishing contracts and deals are here. Mars may be stimulating decisions and actions as much as breaking and fracturing. Something's got to give here. I'll use me as an example. I'd love to get my book proposal done for my agent, Eileen, if I had time. Yeah. So maybe I make the decision to do that, and I crossroads at my career, right? I'm not going to do the things I thought I'd do. I will break away from something I planned. And if you are somebody who is in a career path that is, Mars rule, 10th house, Scorpionic, and Mars is flowing to you from the 6th house in his joy, even if he's opposite Pluto, it doesn't really matter. He's in a good spot for himself. You're trying to make some career changes that are formidably good for you and will open up better avenues of opportunity after the moon in the 6 months that follow. So don't be so afraid about taking a choice to take I don't know, a left or right turn, but knowing that whichever new direction you take, Mars, the Lord of your 10th house, in the house of work, no matter how emotional he is or how off the handle he could fly, he's still in his joy and he's still going to honor your career space. He is in a whole sign trine. So career decisions, career turning points are pivotally coming off of this new moon, and you will make some career direction changes, probably very obviously as a result. You do have flow from Lord Saturn to this new moon in your second house of earnings. Again, this is a moon that will increase your earnings, increase your financial success. On my follow-up video, I'll cover more about Saturn, because by then I will have dove in more to what Saturn has to say. I really wanted to focus on the combustible, Mars opposition here to Pluto. If you have any kind of debt you wish to eliminate, Mercury rules your 8th house of mortgages and bank loans and debts and credit card companies and stuff. And you may be able to make decisions and have crossroads turning points in career and reputation matters that allow you to eliminate a debt. And another feature of this moon with the Lord of the moon in a sextile to Uranus could be a sudden decision to change your home connected to work matters, to work from home or work in a different home, especially if you rent homes or not an owner, but a renter. Yes, you should be able to buy a home out of this one too, because Mercury rules your 8th house of mortgages, and he's new beginnings in career and reputation can create changes in home as well. For some of us, Aquarius, sun, moon, and risings. And that's all I have for you right now. I think I kind of went short on us. I don't know what else to say. The prophetic goddess Kassandra in the 12th house of your dreams at night. Pay attention for prophetic dreams in your life that could be really important to you for understanding new directions in your career and work routines, okay, or health matters or addictions. Those dreams are very importantly available perhaps to you just around the time of this veil is thin Halloween into about November 4th, when we see Kassandra in the 12th house. She is a prophet, seer, and psychic. She just didn't know and believed her, but hey, it's the 12th house, so it's your dreams at night. Believe them. They're telling you something important. I had a dream that I was sitting at a screen like a laptop working, and the plug, on the wall, like where you put the cord in, it literally was on fire. It was like smoke was coming out of it. And then I pulled this out today. Works fine, needs cord. Works fine, needs cord. I had put this on a piece of an old monitor that I was going to give away that didn't have any cord, but it still worked. And I thought that's a synchronicity today. It's like, I'm not needing to fire. The power outlet doesn't have to go on fire. Like, I think it's about burning out, right? It works fine, needs a cord. What do I need to plug into? What do you need to plug into, Aquarius? That works fine, just needs the cord to plug in so that you have what you need in your career that improves your health, keeps you from getting sick, allows you to exercise and keep a work routine that is good for your body and nurtures your soul. Don't forget, the Mars is in the sign that belongs to the moon herself. All right, moving into the very last story. Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. You've got to talk about it. It's happening. It's a new moon in the house of God. It flows to you. You do not mind 9th house new beginnings. What triple thresholds goddess is asking you to do is make a choice regarding visas, passports, foreign travel, foreign lands, connections to a sibling too older than you, academic settings, colleges, campuses, and universities, book publishing deals, and legal and court matters, and third marriages. These are areas where you're doing second marriage, second house, first marriage, 7th house. This is where you're doing some critical threshold changes. There's decisions being made. Maybe it's not your decision. Maybe it's a judge. Maybe it's not even your choice, but somebody's deciding. A spiritual advisor, a guide, a therapist, a judge, 9th house. Saturn is in the house of you, and he flows to this moon, and you're the wise, sage-like, realistic, sober-minded Pisces who sees what's possible in the 9th house and is making choices there wisely. Those threshold choices you can handle. You've got this. Mars, however, as the Lord of the moon itself, is in a very oppositional relationship to Pluto. And don't forget, we have turbulent Mercury also on Typhon. Mercury is really over here. It's just moved forward because I progressed the chart. So Mercury at the end of Scorpio, let's talk about that. Mercury rules your marriage house. So there can be some turbulence and some uncertainty around legal matters or visa matters or foreign travel matters or foreign land matters to connect with you long-term marriage partnerships. A little bit of a turbulence there. Certainly with Mars squaring Juno and Apophis in the South Node and shared resources with a marriage partner, financial turbulence around money you share with your marriage partner could be a story, but also financial turbulence regarding money and children. And with Mars opposite Pluto, you might hit a real blowout with a child or with your marriage partner because this is your sexual romance house too. I don't know, guys. It feels like you could really, there's a lot of money axes alive for you guys, right? Chironic wound in the earnings house next to Salacia and house. It looks to me like a lot of Pisces are having a critical turning point moment. Ultimately, even though it's a spiritual moon in the one of faith and your spiritual philosophy and the meaning of your life and your dharma, it has collateral ripple thanks to Mars with money matters. Money with your children, money with your spouse, money you share with others, money you get from royalty income, money you have from inheritances, money you get from your investments in your 401k or your RRSP. So why is there so much tension here? Well, something's got to give. You could have a blowout with a sibling, one older than you, just one older than you, around money matters and children, or your children and you blowing out over money, adult or children, right? I don't care if they want an allowance and you're going to fight about it, or it's because they're adults and they need to borrow money. But there's those kinds of money matters with regards to children or friends or a sibling, one older, that are really intensely embedded into this time of the moon itself. I mean, I wonder if this moon also would ask you to consider the possibility. Consider the possibility about what's fair and balanced in the way that you share the money you do with your marriage partner, if you have one. If you don't worry about it. Otherwise, the money you have through eighth house means, and that can include social security, pension plan money, unemployment insurance money, those kinds of money. South Node wants you to let go and make money. North Node, get your chironic North Node juice and get your chironic wound fixed, and more so look towards your own impetus to create the resources you need financially rather than depend on your partner or the bank or the loans or the credit card debts or the government monies. Those are eighth house monies. They belong to someone beside yourself. So there's a turning point energy. Mars is in the house of entrepreneurship. Some of you may hustle up a new entrepreneurial business. A new idea can come to you in the next 6 months. Mars will be back in your entrepreneurial eighth house. Don't forget, it'll be back January through April. So you could be hatching a plan for a new direction in your money connected to creativity, entrepreneurship, etc., getting your own business going. But there's an intensity, there's a crisis crucible of Mars-Pluto opposition here. What do you do that brings you joy and passion, Mars in the fifth house, versus what Pluto is doing in the top of the sky? If you're employed in a job and you don't like it, because bottom line is that's your house of gains from your official career, maybe there's a pitch by the sky to get you out of something that's really not inspiring the vitality and enthusiasm and passion you want that Mars could provide through that fifth house transit. More entrepreneurial, more creative, that kind of stuff. And finally, one thing about Mars in the fifth house, it's not the best thing for getting pregnant. So just be careful. It's usually the opposite. It's like, it's the way the babies don't last, like a miscarriage or something, not to scare you. I mean, if you're already pregnant and you're way down the line, don't worry about it. But, that Pluto-Mars opposition can be a little bit gnarly regarding children, no matter what stage they are in your reality. So I'm not trying to worry you, but I'm saying, like, don't proactively decide that you're going to conceive a child on the new moon, right? Let me just avoid it if you can. That's all I'm saying. Righty, that's about all I've got. Oh, new beginnings, new moons in the house of grandchildren and Mars in the house of children. So yes, for some of you, There's potentially in the beginning of a new story called I Have a Grandchild, and the Mercury is like the news that you're going to be a grandparent. And so for some of you, it just might be the threshold goddess is saying, what do you want to do about this? Maybe you want to move closer to your child and be closer to your grandchildren. Certainly with Jupiter retrograde, it could take you back to your homeland, your hometown, to go back and be bounteous around the children that you have and the grandchildren. And some of you, if you're old enough, could move closer to children and grandchildren, or decide to do that in the wake of this moon. Give it up to 6 months to show you the way. I have to staple this together on iMovie. I want to have to do that. It takes 1,000 years to upload it. It really pisses me off. I'm going to keep smiling because no matter what happens, I'm still breathing. I wish you guys the best as a US election approaches. Please watch my video coming out on Monday, the 28th of October. We have a we have a Mercury opposite Pluto, and we have the perfection of the opposition between Mars and Pluto. That's going to be a week to remember. I can't imagine it any other way. I'll be delineating it for the world. I'll be delineating it for your sign. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And thank you so much for getting through this with me. Check out my 25 all signs bundle and or get the individual signs. That price goes away November 15th. I promise you it's not coming back. It's the pre-sale price delivered to you November 17th in your inbox. Check it out. All the information about me is in my description box below, and how to join my patreon.com/lunatic astrology as well, where you get this on the 22nd of October, 2 days before the general public. Thanks, guys. Take care.